So now we're finally ready for trim. And like I said, got PVC trim, and I ended up getting 1x6. There was 1x5 here before, but I like going a little bigger so that way I can rip it to whatever I need. And it turns out that I need 4 3/4 because I want to make everything the same. So 4 3/4 will come down just about a 1/4 inch past this, and then it'll leave me a little bit of a reveal here, about 3/8. And that's gonna work about the same all the way around. Of course, it's not gonna be perfect, but the white on white, this reveal here, you'll never be able to tell. So I'll be able to rip them all at 4 3/4, and I'll get a measurement for the length here for my top piece first. 38 3/4 strong. The thing about PVC and ripping it on a table saw is it makes an absolute mess, and it's like staticky. It gets a static charge from being cut. So just be aware of that. I'm gonna rip them first. 4 3/4. And that's what I'm talking about. It gets absolutely everywhere. Before I make my cuts, I just want to check and make sure I got the good side. Make sure it didn't get damaged in shipping or at the store or anything like that. This is a little dirty, and it's staticky, so stuff is sticking to it, but this looks good. So I'm going to square one end just in case. 8 3/4 strong, and cut it. Okay, I'm going to dry fit this, which means just putting it in without attaching it, because I want to see how it fits, and it's going to fit perfect. Be able to screw it in and then fold this drip edge down, or this rain cap. But what I want to do is make sure that when I put the screws in here, I actually hit something, because there's nothing worse than missing and then putting an ugly hole in the trim, having to move the screw. So right here, there's a gap. I know there's wood right here, and then there's a gap right here. So I'm gonna have to go high here and a little high right here. And then on either edge, I know that there's plenty to screw to there. Same thing over here. So just to be 100% safe, I'll measure, make sure I'm hitting something. Gap right there. So I want to go about 2 inches from here for that screw, and then go up high. Here's an extra step that's probably not necessary, but I'm going to do it. 100% silicone, exterior grade, and I'm just going to run a bead up on the top and on the sides. Just in case. Remember, silicone isn't paintable, so make sure it doesn't come out and then not be able to paint it. Put in our first piece. I'm putting the rip up and the good side out. There. Squish that silicone. Make sure this is even right here. But I'm going to go nice and tight to the top, like that. I'll put one screw right in the middle. These are PVC trim screws. You can also get ones with plugs, so you can't see a screw at all. This will work for me. Just like that. Just sink the head in just a little bit. I'll go on this side, right here. Push it up. That. And the other side. I like to put the screws somewhat even so it looks better, if anybody was to judge. That pulled that right in. Sweet. Okay, that looks good. It's sucked in nice and tight. I'm just gonna clean up the silicone here for now on both sides, and we can do the side pieces. Now before we cut the pieces for the side, we have to take into account the angle of this sill. It goes down slightly like this. I think it's probably gonna be about a 15-degree angle. But as an example of things in construction being, having more than one way to do things, I get comments all the time saying I would have done it like this, and that's totally fine. You do it however you want. But here's a good example. Here's how you could find this angle for the sill. Take a scrap piece and hold it like this, and you can see it's a very slight angle. So you could guesstimate it like this, or you could hold your pencil like this and scribe it, and then take that to your chop saw, match up that angle. You could take an angle finder, hold it down like this. You could use a speed square, or you could just cut it straight and caulk it in. Totally up to you. I'm gonna scribe it because that's the easiest. So I'm putting it like that, did the pencil mark. Now I'm gonna take this to the chop saw and cut it and make sure it is good before I go measuring and cutting the pieces for the sides. Now I have that piece right here. I'm just gonna shift the saw, and we'll start at 15 because that's what I think it's gonna be. And then bring the blade down. Look at that. Now since we cut right on that line, should have a perfect angle. Oh no, just kidding, it's backwards. Good. There is a gap right here because of how this is. I could notch that out, but I'm not doing that. Just caulk that in. So we have our measurement, but keep in mind that gap right there. So I'm gonna wanna measure the short side of this angle, which is in the back. And then when I cut it, I wanna cut the angle first, measure from that short point to the other square end, and cut it that way. Don't get confused. Easy to do. Hold it to my short point, go straight up, 52 5/8. And also remember, I want to put my rip towards the siding, so the good side is shown, the factory edge. So it's going to be like this. Make sure this side is good, and make sure we're doing the angle properly. So if we imagine that the top and this is the bottom, I want my angle to be just like this. Saw's already set to 15 degrees. Hopefully this makes it all the way through. Now, flip it down like this and measure from the short side, remember, like this. 52 5/8. And I'm actually going to transfer this mark so that when I cut, cuts it on the front. That gives it less of a chance to mess up the cut. Put my saw back to 0. Perfect. Nice and tight. I'll take this out. And then I'm gonna run a bead of silicone. Again, probably not necessary, but all the way down this siding. And then on the bottom here, I'll seal that up nice and tight. Some people like to leave something open down here so water can escape if it does get in there, but I'm gonna try not to let water get in there at all. That's how I roll. I'll stop right there, and then the rest I'll do with paintable caulking. There is the old frame for the window right here. So I'm gonna make sure to hit that, and then I have plenty over here. Pop that in the top first. Make sure it's going the right way. Okay. Get it even. That looks good. Now you can see that this is not even with the top trim. It's set in a little bit, and that's totally fine. I am okay with that. In fact, some trim is designed that way, where this will be 5/4 and this will be 3/4, so it'll be thicker. And that way, again, the way the water runs comes down and goes like this over this. So I'm fine with it. Turns out I'm running out of trim screws, and instead of buying a whole pack, I'm just gonna put less. It's a good idea to put them every 16 inches or so. I'm just gonna do 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom, and then 2 in the middle. And that's about 20 inches. It'll be fine. Now you can see that this is kind of at an angle. This went in a lot more than this. So what I'm gonna do is back this screw out, and it's gonna pull the trim, kind of like that. Cool, and then the silicone will hold that. Now we can do the same thing on the other side. Make sure that works. Of course it's gonna, but you never know. 52 5/8 shy. Okay, dry fit looks good. We can attach it, but silicone it first. I didn't check to see where the wood was here. From what I remember, it was a little further away than that side, so let's see. Let's see if I get lucky. All right, I missed. So now I'm gonna have a hole right here, but I just missed by that much. I'm just gonna have a hole here and I'll fill it with some caulking. But I need to be like right here. Got it that time. Measuring this one.